go to this computer. Great. Okay. Can you guys all see the screen really well?
Yep.
Yay.
Great.
And I can see you up top. Fantastic. Oh, I want you to go on the side. I want you to go up top. There we go. Okay. So welcome to our live coach training program, which we call WhealthyU. The reason I called it WhealthyU and I made the U like that, it's kind of like a university. This is going to be teaching you. I'm not teaching anybody here coaching skills. I want to give you the framework that Hanai was asking for. So that's why it's called You. The wealthy, it's also for you because I want you all to be able to go ahead with this in your coaching business, however you want to deliver this. Victoria, I see you doing this in the workplace. Felice, I see you doing this in the university. Hanai, I see you and I sitting down and deciding which niche you're going to deliver this to. So this is really something that's going to be 100% adaptable to all of you. So to get right into it, it's 4 Thursdays. It's an hour and a half each time. This is the time I've estimated. I hope it takes about this much time. It's one of those things that we'll decide together as we move forward. Interrupt me anytime if you have a question, but it is teaching. I'm not coaching you today. This is teaching, but it's a totally open format. So it's 4 Thursdays. Week 1, my food, my stress, what's the link? Week 2, my body, my sleep, time to wake up. Week 3, my purposeful alignment, resilience at last. And week 4, it's actually all the templates for proposals, for the proposals, pricing, options, and rollout. I really have a feeling that those options, we're going to be talking about them as we go along. And we can actually start right there. My food, my stress, what's the link? I've called this a workplace awareness session. I have probably delivered this session 150 times. I've never delivered it the same way twice. I always tweak and adapt and adjust as I go along. Constanza, are you with us? I'm just checking. I think she is. I think she's just got a call or she's driving or something.
Yes.
You are there. Welcome. Would you like to present yourself before we dive in? Would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm here.
Welcome. Would you like to present yourself?
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes. My English is a poor English, but
that's okay.
I'm trying to connect my video.
Oh, thank you. Where are you calling from?
I am in Argentina.
No, you can speak to her in Spanish.
In the north of Argentina, near of the Andes.
Beautiful. Hanai, open your mic and say welcome.
Welcome, Constanza.
I'm here.
Thank you for joining us, Constanza. Very happy to have you. Hanai, say a
happy
few words in Spanish.
Yeah, qué bueno. Yo también soy argentina, ¿eh?
Ah, bueno.
Bueno,
Cualquier cosa, sí, me ayuda un poco con el inglés y me trabo. Gracias.
I will help you.
Yes, perfectly. You can do that in the chat, Hannah. I thought you could. So welcome, Constanza. Really happy to have you here. Great. So I deliver this as a workplace wellness session. The shortest I've ever delivered it is 30 minutes. The longest I've ever delivered it is in 4 hours. So you can see how we can really play with it. And as we go through the session, I'll show you guys where I go deeper or less deep, depending on what the client requires. When I first get called in, whether I'm called in to work with a business, a company, a group, a professional organization, whoever it might be, I just adapt this session to their timing, okay? So I think that's one first big thing. I'm giving you all the full version so that then you can pull out what you don't want. Okay, that's the idea here. My food, my stress, what's the link? Oops. There we go. Today you're going to discover, and this is the first page that I would give to in my client. We're going to discover 4 things you can change now to better cope with stress, plus a bonus. They're going to receive the primary links between stress and food and answers to your questions and or SMART goals. SMART goals, we all know. I don't have to explain that to anybody. Again, I'm not teaching you coaching. All right, so this is very niched, and we're going to learn 4 things. So we start all of these sessions, it's all about well-being. And this is why I package these sessions together. Well-being is a combination of food, that's the upper left-hand corner, nutrition, exercise to the right, sleep, and I integrate mindfulness, which is taking time like we're doing now to actually stop and learn something. And I know you all know these 4 areas. What we're going to discover together is that I consider them to be like gears of a watch that actually work together. And they all work together around managing stress. So again, the messaging here, it's not about just teaching food and exercise and sleep. It's about teaching how can that help me manage stress. That is a message that delivers. That's what people want to hear. They've heard enough about how to eat and how to sleep. How can it help my stress? Felice, we talked about this yesterday with students. The workplace, this is the #1 workplace problem. So this speaks to companies. So let's move on. The first thing I always like to do in any session is just take 1 moment to center ourselves, take a deep breath. You all know this. Do a little stop. Does anybody know what the acronym STOP stands for in mindfulness? Yay, I get to teach you something. Do you know it, Victoria? Yay. Oops, I'm going too fast. Stop, take a breath, observe what you feel, and proceed so that you can respond and not react too fast. Some people in this session, this is their biggest takeaway. Because if people can get in the habit of doing this little stop throughout their day, maybe they won't react harshly, difficultly when they're stressed. Maybe they can take the time to respond. Plus, breathing actually helps with our stress. I give you some details on that. And by the way, for every one of these slides, under the notes, you have all of the references and the resources where you can go to learn more information if you want to about it. Again, I'm not teaching you coaching here, and in the workplace, you're just going to be teaching them the stop. So once we've done our stop, we integrate our little mindfulness. I do a quick check-in. The check-in is about how you feel. So why do we do this, how you feel? Do any of you have an idea why we would start with our emotional check-in? Any thoughts here, my dear coaches?
Pretty common, I find, like in education, they actually train you to do this. It just grounds you for one, and it just, because we're all coming in and attending, information sessions, whatever we're going to be, occupation we'll be doing, and we're just coming in with our thoughts and our heads are spinning, and then doing that check-in can just kind of bring us, I'm just thinking neuro speaking, but just brings our frontal lobe in attention and focus.
Absolutely.
And it can help to gauge the room as well, because some people may not be at their best, and it's just you're putting out there today, like my disclaimer earlier, my 2 kids, and it just reduces the pressure. I did, so that was my informal check-in.
That is exactly what it is, Ellen. And we actually, by naming the mood we're in, it actually helps us to analyze the emotion. This is difference between agility and fragility. Let me give you an example. If you come in and you say, I feel sad, let's say the word is sad or mad or stressed, I feel stressed. If we can change that and recognize that it's actually, I notice that I am feeling stressed rather than I am stressed. When you say I'm stressed, you embody it, you become the stressor. By naming it, you already you're coaching yourself. You're looking from the outside in. So by naming our emotions, we can do that. We bring ourselves in, we take a look at how we feel. It also allows everybody, it's fun to do this check-in again at the end of the session. to see if people's mood has changed thanks to the session. That breathing, the exchange, people feel less stressed, especially in the workplace, you'll notice that. So these are very short entrances, but it's kind of a way to get the group together, get people to do this little check-in. Any other thoughts here before we dive in? Cool. Okay, what is stress? I'm asking you all. Who would like to tell me what stress is? Anybody?
Maybe I can say tension in the body.
Yes, perfect. Tension in the body. Anybody else? Thoughts?
Imbalance in the nervous system.
There is imbalance. Yep.
Or
Anybody else?
activating the flight or fight.
Yeah, fight or flight. Thank you, Hannah. We're going to come back to that one in a minute. Any other thoughts? Helen?
I think what comes to mind, it's I always tell my clients it's normal. And it's just that threshold, right? Like when stress can be good until we reach that threshold, because and so we talk about the pros and cons and what are our thresholds to that it's not healthy for us.
Tell me, Helen, what's one thing that stresses you a lot? Oh, go ahead, Constanza.
No, I'm thinking about neurodiversity and stress because I read esta mañana, ayúdame. This morning I read an article about burnout, autistic burnout. I can understand this information good because I am an autistic woman, and stress means perhaps different things for autistic people.
Bingo. Perfect, Constanza. That's what I was going to ask Ellen. Stress means different things to different people. It is a highly subjective phenomenon, almost undefinable. It's a non-specific response of the body to any demand for change. And so in the workplace, here we would say, do we all have demand for change? Of course we do, every day, all the time. What stresses Ellen does not stress me. What stresses Constanza does not stress me. So it's really important to understand it's normal and it's subjective. And it is recognized as the #1 proxy killer disease in the world. It is the cause of more than 60% of all human illness. All of these things are caused by stress. The people you're presenting this have no idea of this, none. The only one they might associate it with is maybe anxiety and depression and burnout, like Constanza said. I'm not going into these, I'm giving you this with all of the resources. So we know what stress is. So why are we even dealing with it? Stress is the #1 workforce issue. It's the health epidemic of the 21st century. Do you have any idea what percentage of the workforce is stressed? Anybody?
60.
60? What do you think, Victoria?
It's around 80.
Yep.
80. Wow.
70 to 80% of the workforce is stressed. I thought I had that on that last slide. I'm just going to go back here. It's a cost of $1 trillion a year in lost productivity. Cost of burnout is $320 billion a year. It's almost $3,000 per employee per year. Those are global estimates written in dollars. So between 70, and this is why we're giving this course. This is why we're doing this group coaching. This is almost everybody has this problem. So 20% increase since 1990, 76% negative impact on personal relationships, 66% of the people lose sleep, global figures here, 16% quit their jobs, 74% of 30 to 49-year-olds are in this stress bracket, 64% for the younger, and 44% of the age 50. So it's the younger workers that have the most stress. Isn't that interesting in the workforce? Men, same as women, half of them want to learn to manage it better. So this is, I mean, they all want to, but half of them claim, they actually say out loud, they want to learn to manage stress better. Job stress is more strongly associated with health complaints than financial or family problems in the workplace. So this is, we're setting the scene. We're setting the scene. Theoretically, you could give these first 8 or 10 slides in each class, in each workshop, if the same people weren't attending, just to kind of get us started. How do you cope with stress personally? What do you do? Anybody?
Mindfulness.
Meditation.
Perfect. Mindfulness, meditation.
Same for me,
Exercise.
Ellen. Yeah, same for me. And I also use Psyche to balance stress.
Fantastic. Hélène, what about you?
Yes, for me, exercise.
Me, it's exercising. It's a workout. It's so, you know, again, we all cope differently. In the world, 46% of the people eat too much when they're stressed. They overeat. 29% increase their drinking. 16% start or increase smoking. 35% go out. 31% relax, and 24% do a sport or a hobby. But that all takes time. Eating differently does not take any more time. That's why we start with food. So we really want to understand, how does this stress thing happen? What happens, and Hannah, you were talking about, this is the fight and flight. When we're stressed, what happens in our body? Does anybody know? What are some of the signs of stress in your body?
The stress hormone gets activated. I mean, the part of our brain.
Yep. What's the stress hormone called?
Cortisol.
Yep, perfect. Cortisol. We've got cortisol going up. We've got this mammoth coming. The reason I did this design on this slide is because this is the way man was created hundreds and thousands of millions of years ago. Our bodies haven't changed. It's still the same. That mammoth that came along and frightened the caveman caused his cortisol to go up. What else happened? Tell me.
My head goes into that fight or flight as well, and just like what happens. So our muscles will tense up, our jaws will clench, our cognitive goes down, our physical goes up, so we can run. So I think it's all that.
All of it,
digestion, right? Like it's just
Yep.
prioritizing survival.
Exactly. Perfect. Did you miss anything?
For autistic people, also could be shut down and desactivation.
Shut down. That's super interesting. I think it's not only for autistic people, it could be for all people, Constanza. Very well put. So adrenaline goes up. Remember adrenaline? It's a hormone. Cortisol goes up. Glucose, the sugar in your blood, goes up so you can fight the mammoth. Insulin goes up. Heart beats. Digestion shuts down, as Ellen said. Breathing, we breathe faster. Immunity goes down. We stop fighting disease. Our muscles tense, as Ellen said. We're ready to fight or flight. So all of this happens whenever there's a stressor. And all of those stressors are exactly the same, no matter what your stressors are today. So your body will react that way. Now, moving forward, what's the link? We want to now understand what's the link between my food and all that stuff that's going on in my body. All of those things that happen because stress is there. We can't change that much, but we can change the way our body reacts to it. So, number one, we promised 4 things. The number one thing is a balanced plate. Hannah, does this plate look familiar to you?
Oh, yes.
Yes. Okay. The reason I'm sharing this plate, do any of the other people here, has anybody else done IIN? I don't think so, huh? Did you, Victoria? Okay, so you recognize the plate as well. Oh yeah, that's right. I remember now. This is the Institute of Integrative Nutrition Healthy Eating Plate. I always use it as an image because I just find it's the best. On the left, so the image shows about the portion. And this is not your plate, this is your life. This is your life. So we're going to move forward with this, and people get an image. On your left are fruit and vegetables. On your right are whole grains and protein. And even more important, what nourishes us around the edge of the plate. We've got our career, our physical activity, our relationships, and our spirituality that are all a part of this, of what nourishes us in life. Today, we're going to focus on the food bit, the colorful part in the middle. We're going to focus on that and understand how it's related to stress. But I love this plate because week 3, when we start looking at values and strengths and bringing it all together and aligning, that's where it comes in. So that's why this program, it really is 3 weeks. We pull it all together. This is the plate that nourishes our life. Okay? So given that, the number one thing to fight stress, if you have balanced food, you balance out your hormones, you balance out your stress reaction. So what this means, and again, I'm not going to walk through this with all of you because you know the whys. We would ask the people in the audience, why do we eat fruit and vegetables? Why is half of our life fruit and vegetables? And we would list all of the reasons why. That's a bit of a coaching moment there, where we let everybody contribute. I put immunity, blood pressure, heart disease, stroke, cancer, weight, digestion, stress, appetite, blood sugar, eyes. The more we eat fruit and vegetables, the more nourished our body is, the better the body reacts to stress. I don't think I need to go any further on that, do I? Are we all good with that? Just give me a thumbs up. Again, this is why I've taken on a group of coaches. I don't want to go deep into this. We'll do a little halt when I get to the second tip on food. We're still on balanced plate. What I would do at this point in a workplace, I would explore those topics we just looked at. Again, I've given you all the resources. At this point, you could either just move on, or you could have asked people in the chat, how many fruits and vegetables do you eat? How do you eat your fruits and vegetables? Or this could be a coaching opportunity. You could stop the group and say, well, let's talk, let's discuss. How do you eat fruits and vegetables? Or you could do breakout groups and have them come up with goals. How can I get myself to eat more fruit and vegetables? You could have goal setting out loud. And then tell us about your life. What goal would you like to set in fruit and vegetables? We would tell them about SMART goals. We might ask them to set an action step on fruit and veg. This is up to you to play with it, but this is the opportunity where you might do this or not. Are we cool with that? Great. At this point, I tend to do the coaching moment before I give my tips. I would have them come back from the breakout rooms. We would talk about what they had defined. And then I would say, great, and these are my tips. Observe your fruit and vegetable, use your fist as a measurement, keep it visible around you, eat more vegetables than fruits, make it colorful and a variety, start your meals and snacks, use crowding out. Some of you know that term. Use local, seasonal, and bio if you can. Keep the skin on if you can. We might even explain that. And that cans and frozen vegetable and fruit are okay as well. So again, these are my tips. Ellen.
Yeah, quick question. What do you mean by crowd out? I didn't know.
What do I mean by crowding out, Victoria? Can you open up your mic, hon?
My puppies are snoring, so I keep turning.
Oh, adorable, adorable.
So you can't hear them. So I have PN Precision Nutrition, and I have IIN, and they have different philosophies on crowding out. So crowding out, in one sense, has to do with eating enough fruits and vegetables and reducing the other non-nutritional portions of your plate. So if you have things like carbs, unhealthy carbs, and you are protein sensitive or gluten sensitive. So like me, I am gluten sensitive and I cannot process carbs because I have a medical condition. I would eat more fruits and vegetables that are low in carbohydrates. So I have less of a need for high proteins and complex carbs. So you crowd out your diet and you crowd out your plates with the things that are good for you, but you still have a balanced diet and you're still getting the necessary, nutrition that your body needs. And it's different for everybody.
You said it perfectly. Exactly. Hanaya, did you want to add anything to that you remember about crowding out?
No, actually, Victoria said it really well.
She said it really well, didn't she? It's ordering that great big mixed salad before the pizza. So maybe you'll eat less pizza. It's starting your meal with the soup and this is just a simple trick that when people learn to crowd out or doubling up on the veg or the fruit when you make a cake or something like that, it's a way of crowding out the less healthy. Sorry, Hannah, I interrupted you.
Oh, no worries. No, I was saying, I remember one thing also, like to drink water. Sometimes people are feeling or something, but actually they're feeling thirsty.
Exactly. It's another good one.
Oh, if you drank the water first, would that be
yes,
like a crowd out concept?
That's another way of crowding out. Absolutely. And it's a really clever thing. And clearly I would explain it as I walked through these tips with a group. And you guys might have another tip or two of your own that you want to add here. Of course. You understand the notion of the fist. I think everybody knows when we're talking about nutrition, the portion, like that plate we looked at that I have on the right here, it is basically 4 fists. And when we talk about there's the plate. When we talk about, when we talk about a portion, we're talking approximately about a fist. So when we talk about 1 portion of fruit, it would be 1 apple, 1 banana, 1 whatever. Okay, it's just useful. All right, we're still on balanced plate. We're going to look at protein. So question, what is protein? I don't have to ask you guys, you know what it is. Everybody's going to tell me what protein is, and then we're going to say, yep, you're right, protein's all that stuff. And we have animal and vegetable protein. So we confirm it. Again, I like to run these sessions extremely interactive. I'm not doing it with you guys unless you have questions at this point, because I'm not here to teach you that. But it's really interesting to do that when you're giving a session, and you can open up longer or shorter on all of this. You can play with the timing, depending on the group. Why protein? Same thing. We're going to ask the audience, maybe they put it in the chat, and then we go through and we explain that protein is indispensable. And again, this balance, our stress depends upon it. If we do not have protein, our body cannot function. A stressed body that can't function is even more stressed. So again, we're trying to link this to stress. We can look at all of the reasons here, but one of the most interesting reasons is this 1, 2, 3, the 4th bullet point. So we've got indispensable, building block, bones, muscle, skin, bone, build and repair, enzymes, hormones, other body chemicals. We need protein to build our hormones. That includes the adrenaline, the insulin, and the cortisol we saw earlier in the other slide. Requires the most energy to assimilate and keeps us full for longer. Just, I'm asking you a question. Do you think a hungry body is a stressed body?
Yeah.
Yes, you're right, Hanai. A hungry body is a stressed body. So if we eat protein and it keeps us full for longest, it is one of the foods that's the best for managing stress.
Is stressed and vulnerable to stress also.
Yes.
The inertia of the body is better. Is mayor.
Yes, it's better. Yeah. Yes.
More inertia.
Yes, when you have enough protein, your body has more inertia to fight the stress. That's why we're still in this balance. And protein, since it's indispensable, you can't get it anywhere else except from food. We absolutely have to have the protein. And this is one of the big things that many women stop getting enough of in the workplace. They skip meals, they go vegetarian, they grab a coffee or a diet soda. and they're super stressed and then they don't sleep. We'll see the relationship with that next time. But this really helps when they understand your body can't function without protein. If you're lacking in this, you're going to be hungry faster, and that's going to stress your body. Okay? Again, you could take a coaching moment here. Breakout groups, how do you get your protein? Where do you get your protein? Again, you could play with this. You could do this coaching moment after the tips or before the tips. I play with both. You could give the tips first, observe your protein intake, tell them how much protein you need. You've got, again, the data for this is in the notes of these slides. We each need 0.8 grams of protein for each kilo of body weight. So if you weigh, it's either kilo or pounds. It's the same thing, Victoria, or anybody that's in the US. It's 0.8 grams. You just multiply it by your weight. So we probably in this group, we need 50 to 60 grams of protein per day. Your fist is one portion of protein. Every meal and snack to keep your hunger steady, alternating between animal and vegetable protein, seafood, lean meat, poultry, legumes and pulses. 2 eggs are considered to be one portion. Dairy, if you eat dairy, and nuts. Again, you can all explore all of these. You all know how to explore all of these. You might, Hannah, you've been working being a vegan. Vegans might have other options they want to add on here, but your tips, you can make them your own. So you could do the tips first and then do the coaching moment. In this case, it might be interesting, or flip them around.
Well, and another idea that just came to mind, and I'll share it before it disappears, and I'll put it in
Go
my
for it,
notes.
please do.
But I wonder if you ever played with, you don't provide them the tips, because I love how they could generate their own solutions, very coach approach. Yeah. But if they're in the breakout room, let's say halfway through, you in the chat insert these suggestions.
Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea. So they can play with it.
Mm-hmm.
So they can play with it.
The other one is the whiteboard.
Or whiteboard, where you actually do the whiteboard. And clearly it's different if you're on site as well. And you can imagine this is really fun because they exchange with each other and they come up with really good ideas. Like Hannah, you'd be a good one. I'm a vegetarian or I'm a vegan, but I realized I didn't have enough energy. So now I get a little fish here and there. I don't eat meat. Or, you just share your tips and tricks with people here. Yeah.
I really love how it's really easy to use in both platforms, live or online.
Yeah, it totally is. And you could use it for individual coaching too. I use it for individual coaching sometimes if people want to go this way. You use it as a resource and then you give it to them as handouts. We're on fats to finish up the balanced plate, fats and oils. So again, same thing. Why do we have fats and oils? We're still working on this balanced plate. We're still on number 1. This is tip number 1. Fats and oils, indispensable once again, for energy, omega-3 for the brain, cellular membranes, absorbing vitamins, hormonal synthesis, body regulation, and digestion. Again, you can play with this because knowing it's for hormonal synthesis, we saw that stress is a hormone reaction. Adrenaline, insulin, and cortisol. If you don't have this, you can't manage your stress. You can't. Absorbing vitamins A, D, E, and K as well. Vitamin absorption, vitamins help us fight stress. Who wanted to say something there? We good? So that's kind of around the why. I do a little bit of a deep dive on cholesterol because questions always come up about this. And I just explained to people that there are 3 kinds of fat, saturated, unsaturated, trans, very simple. 2 kinds of cholesterol. The LDL is the bad one. The HDL is the good one. And that they're linked to these kinds of fats. I don't go too deep unless they ask me to. Again, I've given you references if you want to, but people usually want to know this. So clearly they want to go for more unsaturated fats, less trans, and less saturated. That's kind of in the tips. Coaching moment and tips. observe your fat intake, go for your omega-3s. I give examples, unsaturated fats. High fats are high in calories, so we do have to manage them. This is not a fist of fat. We're looking at, Victoria's laughing, yeah. It's not quite a fist of fat. So we're looking at a different portion, 2 to 3 soup spoons of full fat per day, reading labels, being careful with our cooking. I think reading labels is one of the big ones because people don't think necessarily to read the fat content on food. Super important, indispensable, but important to understand because again, if you relate the calories, do you think an overweight body stresses the body more than a normal weight body? It does. It does. And again, having that thought process, it's not losing weight to look better or to get some body mass index. Nobody cares about that. It's so that your body functions best and can manage stress the best. Okay, any questions on fat? Cool. The whole carb truth. Now this starts to get interesting, and I've done this last for a reason. The whole carb truth. I consider this tip number 2. So the balanced plate, I've really looked at everything around the whole grains. Now we're going to do a bit of more of a deep dive on the whole carb truth. Why do you think I'm spending a little more time on this one? Anybody have a thought?
Because it's the most accessible. I mean, like carbs, you can get anywhere, like really accessible and usually bad, like in pastries or bread or like.
What do you think, Hanae, about the relationship between carbohydrates and stress?
Well, it raises your sugar level, right?
Uh-huh. Yep. What else, Victoria?
I think you have to keep in mind simple carbs and complex carbs. And I don't think people really separate the two. I think they just see carbs as carbs.
Perfect. Tell me more. That's the first slide.
Yeah, so I think when people say carbs, they automatically think about bread and pasta, but they don't think about the carbs that are good for them. And they don't think about the carbs in fruit. And they also don't think about the fact that most carbs turn to sugar in your body and how your body processes that sugar.
Exactly.
And the energy you get from the carbs and how to use that energy.
Perfect. Very well put. So that's exactly how I would go into this slide. I would say, what are carbohydrates to the group? The group would say pasta and sugar and pastries and all this stuff. And then you would say, so there are 2 types, complex and simple. What's the difference? And you would ask that difference. And what would we answer to that? The difference between complex and simple, Victoria, since we're on a roll here.
Well, it depends for a person like, and I when I think about it, I always think about my target market because I talk to women like me with health issues over 50, and I have hormonal issues. So when I separate complex and simple is going to just be something that, your body breaks down into sugar, it uses it as energy, and you're done. Complex is going to be a little more different because it's going to be broken down into different types of energy. It's going to be broken down into energy that is used right away, and then it's going to be broken down into energy that is stored to be used later on when your body is in need or it has depleted that fast energy that you use right away.
Perfect explanation. Love the explanation. Let's see if we can put a picture to that. Complex carb. In this case, I took an apple. Now I know you're confused because we talked about apples being on the fruit side of the plate. This is just for the image. Apples are a part of carbohydrates. They're not a part of whole grains, but it's easy to understand by looking at the image. The apple has skin. The apple is whole. We talked about whole grains, whole carbohydrates. When our caveman eats the apple, he has to chew, he has to masticate, he has to swallow. And as Victoria explains, it sits in the body and gets distributed very gently. It gives him energy, and he even spends energy breaking it down by chewing it. If I take that apple and I industrialize it and I create apple juice, super simple. I haven't even added sugar to this apple juice, though we all know this apple juice probably contains 3 apples and not 1, probably. And if the same guy drinks the apple juice, it is a major stressor on the body because it sends the sugar super fast. It makes the heart beat. It makes the insulin go up, the adrenaline go up, the cortisol go up. It makes him sweat a little bit. And this is the difference between the complex and the simple carbohydrates. So not only do we have to get the portion right of our carbohydrates on our plate, but we really have to focus on the quality of the carbohydrates. And this is a huge learning curve for all of those people at work that are drinking smoothies instead of eating whole fruit. For all of those people that they need a quick shot of chocolate in the middle of the afternoon, they think it's going to help their stress, but it drives them to actually want more. This is what we call the glycemic load. So if you look to the left, it's the simple carbohydrates where we get this quick energy release, but then it quickly makes us feel hungry for more sweets. And we actually eat more when we have the simples all day. A complex carbohydrate, as Victoria explained, the whole apple, it actually has a slow energy release. We feel full for longer, we eat less, and our body is calm. So relating this to stress, the complex carbohydrates are super helpful. I work with teams that work in trading or students that are facing exams. They tend to do all the simple to face the stress, but in fact, it should be the opposite.
Right.
And it's a natural tendency that we have. But once we understand it's not your fault that you're craving sugar, it's because you're eating that sweet simple. We can actually list the complex carbs. They would be all the fresh fruit and vegetables, whole grains, brown rice, pure oats, quinoa, nuts, seeds, whole bread. And they're good because they're high in fiber, natural sugar, low glycemic, slowly digested, long energy. They keep you full for longer. They keep low insulin and cortisol levels, and they can even help with weight management or weight loss. And the simple carbs, as Hanaya indicated on the right, lower in fiber, refined, high sugar, digested too fast for the body to manage them. And the energy gets depleted quicker. So when we are stressed at work, if our energy is being depleted, we have to constantly add to it. So it creates a vicious circle. And the way we really, it's a real stressor on our body. The way we can control that, or a great way to remember it, is the word stressed. So once we've given that, and that's a real learning for the people in the workplace. Once they get that, now we have again a coaching opportunity, and we can go into our tips. So to observe our carb intake, observe your stress reactions to the carbs when you eat simple versus complex. Each meal should be 25 to 35% complex, more complex, less sugars. Be conscientious of drinks, which we're going to look at now, and to use your fist, especially those drinks like smoothies and sweet drinks. So, carbohydrates, any questions here? Whoops.
I have one question. So, I mean, even if there's no sugar added, like if I do a smoothie with just fruits, it's just converted into simple carbohydrates.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. It's converted into simple carbohydrates because in a way, by making the smoothie, it's in a way, it's doing your body's digestion for you. Now, at certain times we need that in life. Like when you go to the hospital, right? They give you medicine in liquid form, so you get it quick. When you're ill and your body doesn't digest well, it makes perfect sense to use smoothies. It's great if you can add a lot of fiber to your diet, though, because that will slow down the sugar reaction. So by mixing vegetables or by having high fiber next to the smoothie or whatever that liquid might be can help slow down that stress reaction.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because, well, I've been drinking smoothies a lot, mainly because of the jaw problem.
Of course.
And yeah, I always thought, yeah, it's okay, it's just fruits. But now you enlightened me. Yeah. But what kind of, like, how can I mix, like, with what kind of fibers can I have?
So one of the things I would suggest is to definitely mix in vegetables and not just fruits. That's one thing that can already bring down the glycemic load. If on the side of that, you can have whole grain bread or nuts, protein is great to slow that down as well. Victoria, you have some thoughts you want to add here, or Elena?
Yeah, I was going to say that one thing to think about with smoothies is that breaking fruit down and even vegetables down into smoothies is that blender is doing part of the digestive process for you, because you're not chewing your food.
Exactly.
So a lot of the digestive enzymes that would be released in your body when you chew, and it's passing through your digestive system to break down that food, is not happening. So you're losing part of that process that your body, that would naturally occur in your body. So you're going to need to add all of that back into that drink that you're mixing. So adding that fiber back in, adding some of those enzymes back in is really, really important when people are on either liquid diets or are just smoothie lovers.
I agree, Victoria. And actually, you can get fiber supplements that are just fiber. You can get those supplements. It's a powder that you can add to smoothies. Often it's a mix of protein and whole grains or something like that.
Without the sugar.
Without the sugar. So true, Victoria.
Yeah, without the sugar.
Is it the same case with soups then? Like,
well, theoretically, very good question. Theoretically, yes. Theoretically, yes. And if you take the example of carrots, for example, if you eat raw carrots, as opposed, which you're not going to do now with your jaw, of course, as opposed to carrot soup, clearly it would be a faster, you're doing less of the digesting. And think about it. If you eat carrot soup, you can eat like a bowl full. It's like 20 carrots. You would never eat 20 carrots like that. So it's really healthy. It's really good for you. Carrots are not strawberries. Okay. You're not going to have the same glycemic run with carrots. But theoretically, yes. So you really want to make sure that you try to mix the textures and make sure you get that balance of the protein, of the fiber, which is why we spoke about, Hannah, your protein, the fish and things like that.
Yeah.
Super, super important. Critical.
I'm actually, well, like at least 3 times a week, I'm eating fish now because.
Great. And even if it's in a mousse form or whatever, the main thing is to get that balance. Ellen, I saw that you had your mic open. What did you want to share, hon?
Yeah, I think for me, it's just to share kind of that perspective or that lens coming from a healthcare space, and just seeing it from a sort of like a two-pronged approach where it's such, well, just as and I had that experience, right? There's many clients that we're coaching with illness and disabilities. They have to go on that liquid diet. So having this information is helpful. But then when we think of the workplace, coaching physicians right now, 2 of them, their sessions were about brainstorming how they can have time to eat. And because they're so struggling to manage one meal, not 12 hours, which makes me cringe. A lot of their solutions is smoothies. So I think it's just being aware of where we're presenting and the environment.
I agree.
Their work schedule. And for me, like I probably would have to come in with those prepared smoothie recipes or something like that.
Perfect idea. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great add-on.
A wellness in the workplace presentation for doctors and nurses, and we had a smoothie bar. And what we did 5 different, I guess, versions of the smoothies, and we had different additives set up for, like different fiber additives, different protein additives, and different flavors based on whether they like fruit or vegetables, or, I'm not a mango person, but somebody wanted mangoes. I do berries, but no, somebody didn't like berries. They wanted
Mhm.
peaches. So we just had like a variety, and someone wanted like chia seeds because, you know, they heard it was the latest thing. So, you know, we just had different varieties for people to test. And the
Mhm.
doctors were like the biggest supporters because, like you said, they don't want to take breaks to eat because then they're there longer times during the day. The nurses were like,
Exactly.
I'm taking my break, I'm out of here. But
Of
the
course.
doctors, they wanted options.
Yeah.
And it was really popular.
And it's such a great way to expand on this. You know, you can imagine, Hannah, a bowl of hummus. You know, you have a fruit smoothie, but then you have a bowl of hummus. There you've complemented, or avocado, you know, it's not the same. Ellen, you were going to say?
No, just that I love that idea. I'm just messaging her now, like, what recipes?
Exactly. But this is a perfect opportunity to go, or you could even do a session where, okay, we break out and everybody brings their favorite recipes together and you bring them back in. I can imagine doing this in a university setting where the students go, okay, what's your go-to? Like, let's come up with some really healthy go-tos for exam season or something like that. Or you can imagine a women's professional group, moms, what are you're stressed and you're stressed with your kids. So what are solutions here? Again, that's your coaching moment, and you can explore that as you wish.
Yeah.
I've tailored this pretty much to the workplace. Okay, so next thing, that's tip number 3. We've got 4 to go. Tip number 3 is about drinks, that drinks really matter. You could include this in the carb bit, but I thought it was more interesting to have it separate. You'll see why. First of all, water. You all know this one, and we go through all the whys on water. The body being 75% water. Dehydration stresses the body, reduces our cortisol. Again, remember, we're relating this to stress. Digestion, absorption, circulation, nutrient transport, body temperature, brain power, all depend on water. Helps control the calories. That was we talked about the crowding out earlier today. Energizes our muscles, our skin, our kidneys, and digestion. And here again, I would ask the audience, does any of this, you think this could stress your body if you're not getting hydrated? People think of the rule that somebody said you have to drink water. But when you say, well, look, I mean, even concentration depends on water. I think, I don't go further on. You can't even go further here and talk about focus and concentration with water. But since the body is 75% water and the brain relies on water to be powered, you can actually explore that with them in the workplace. I don't think we have any special questions there. Then I talk about alcohol. If you think alcohol stresses the body,
in big amounts, yeah.
Exactly. In big amounts, goes very fast to the bloodstream, puts up the blood pressure, can perturb sleep. And I would question the audience. Do you think lack of sleep stresses the body? Modifies your energy, decreases vitamin B. We're going to learn in just a minute that vitamin B is the vitamin that helps fight stress the best. We're getting there. Pretty high in calories. Pretty empty calories, dehydrates the body. We just saw how important it was to hydrate. So if I'm now dehydrating, I'm imbalancing my body, maybe stressing it a bit. Brings down immunity, deposits as fat, modifies our coordination, our judgment, and our good intention. And after 1.5 glasses, reduces our fat burning by 75%. Can be addictive, and at the end, it is recommended in most healthy humans, women 1 deciliter a day and men 2 deciliters a day. The Mediterranean diet says there's absolutely a healthy place for alcohol, but we can see that there are lots of reasons it stresses the body as well. So you can provoke a discussion here. Some people think that alcohol helps them sleep. We can explain that, yes, but since it's doing all these other things in your body, it actually stresses your body, often wakes you up later at night, for example. And again, I put the resources in the references here. The third thing we talk about in drinks is coffee. And again, 2 people, you can check in the chat. Do people drink coffee? Do they like coffee? How much is good? How much is bad? And this is the science today. Coffee actually counts as liquid today. So it does make us pee, so it counts. It does have antioxidants. It can help with immunity. And in principle, 3 to 4 coffees a day is without risk. But as Victoria said earlier, it depends on you. People are different. Some people can't eat carbs. Some people can't eat coffee, drink coffee. So it's really up to people to identify this individually. It decreases vitamin B. We're going to see in a minute that vitamin B really helps fight stress. It increases cortisol. So now we start to see it also decreases sleep, of course. It increases attention and vigilance, and it protects our heart. So we have the goods and the bads on coffee. I had something on caffeine here. I'm going to add it in. Caffeine and sleep.
But this, Ellen, is only if you drink coffee with caffeine, right?
Exactly. Very good question. Decaf doesn't have any of the disadvantages, actually none.
Yeah, I'm trying to go decaf now. I mean, drinking one coffee with caffeine in the morning, and then when I have the crave to drink more, I usually do decaf.
Great idea. And the thing with the decaf that's interesting is that you still get the antioxidants. So you still get the benefits of the coffee. So kind of going through the 3 kinds of drinks, again, coaching moment. What do they come up with? How does that work for them? And then we do tips. So look at your coffee, alcohol, and water with every meal and snack, buy a cool bottle, keep it near you, teas, soups, fruits, and veg, because fruits and veg really help us get a lot of our liquid. Moderate coffee, moderate alcohol. And, they say 1 to 2 liters a day, but I encourage people to just look at their pee. If their pee is pale yellow, that's the sign that they're getting enough to drink. And that's super easy for people to put into place. So this is like number 3 big takeaway. It's all about the drinks. Any questions on that section or suggestions or thoughts?
I just had one question about teas. Is tea also containing theine, right?
Some, yes. Some of them do, and black teas especially, and green tea as well. So again, depending on how you react to those, and when that first bullet point, that observation point, I really like people to go away with an open mind so they can actually say what works for me.
Yeah.
We don't want to give them strict rules so they think it's just one thing, but this gives them the option. And I like to work with different apps so people can actually use an app and they can put it into an app and see what they're drinking or eating. Do you use an app sometimes, Victoria?
So I use Delenta right now for my coaching platform, and you can set up different programs for people to enter information or send pictures of what they're eating, so you can correspond back and forth.
Yeah, there are lots of different kinds. I also use MyFitnessPal. Some people, I have a few clients that are doing Weight Watchers. They do their Weight Watchers and they share their journals with me so we can actually, walk through that. Okay. Tip number 4, last but not least. Who can remind me what 1, 2, and 3 were? Do you remember? Felice, do you remember what tip number 1, tip number 2, and tip number 3?
For what we've seen today.
Yep. What are we seeing today?
Water drinking or...
Tip number 1 is balanced plate.
Balanced, please.
Right. Good job, Constanza. It's
Yes.
balanced plate. We looked at fruits, vegetables, protein, and fats. Tip number 2 was whole carbs. That was part of the balanced plate, but it focused on carbohydrates. Tip number 3 was watch your drinks. And tip number 4 is anti-stress foods. So again, keep in mind, this is all around the question of stress. We're trying to understand what's the link with stress. So anti-stress foods are foods with magnesium, protein, omega-3, B vitamins, and tryptophan. Now, the protein we looked at together specifically earlier on. The omega-3 we looked at specifically with the fats earlier on. Magnesium, B vitamins, and tryptophan, and again, all the research is in the notes here. This is super interesting. So you just talk through the slide and then people go, well, what is it? Like, where do I get this? So I made the slide super easy. Omega-3, protein, magnesium, vitamin B, and tryptophan foods. Maybe walk through one or two of them so people know. A lot of this is going to go in sync with what we spoke about with the balanced plate earlier. But when you see the vitamin B and we think about that coffee and alcohol deplete the vitamin B, we start getting a full picture. We're beyond just saying, eat this, eat that. People can really start to link it in with their stress reaction. Again, you could walk through each one of these individually. Coaching opportunity. How are you getting these? How are you not getting them? Where do you want to focus? Do we have questions? Blah, 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 blah. Overall tips. This is kind of a summary. We're getting toward the end. Observe. If you use an app, or you could have people journal for a week until you see them next. Observe your intake of all the stuff we've talked about. I usually give people my slides without the notes. Use your fist to measure each meal, complex carbs, more complex carbs, fruit and veg with skin, lean protein, omega-3, watch your drinks. Every 3 to 4 hours, eat regularly. Don't diet. To be balanced, balance. And now I give them a little bonus. We talk about other food-related mammoths. Artificial sugar is a stressor on the body. Industrialized foods are stressors. When I talk about the mammoth, you know that means stress, correct? You get it. That was the stress that we talked about earlier with the caveman. The mammoth is the stress elephant. Caffeine stresses the body. Diets stress the body because you deprive the body. Diet is a 4-letter word starting with die. Allergies. If your body consumes simple carbs, Victoria, you're stressing your body. So you've got to know what your allergies are. Thirst, we talked about that earlier. If you're thirsty, your body's stressed. Skipping meals stresses the body. It shoots all those hormones down. Eating too fast stresses your body. Eating mindlessly stresses your body. And this is the little bonus. Mindful eating. Beyond what you eat, when we're under stress, it's also about eating with attention and the intention to feel better after than before. Not just to shove something down your face as fast as you can. Mindful eating is about how much you eat, why you eat. Is that doctor even hungry, Hélène? When you eat, what you choose to eat when you're stressed. You have a stressful period, you don't go for the sugar and Coke. How you eat. Do you even sit down to eat? Do you chew, as you said? And how much you eat. No food is forbidden. We can all have a balanced life eating everything, but this is a deep dive. By the way, I have a free program. Ellen, I saw you signed up for it right now on mindful eating. Hanai, we've had 25 people that I can send you guys a link to if you want to learn a little bit about this. You could also send your clients there because it's just a little freebie that they can, it's 4 weeks to learn mindful eating. Once we get that, there are other things that stress our body, like life stressors, lack of physical activity, lack of sleep, illness. Those guys we're going to look at next week in the next webinar, okay? But it's just to make people understand that there are food-related stressors and non-food related stressors. And in the 3 weeks, we sort of pull it all together. We link them to each other. So well-being, we wrap up, is about these gears. We've looked at one of the 4 gears and we've brought in a little bit of mindfulness to sort of bring it together. And now we would encourage people. We'd say, you know, these simple tweaks can improve your capacity to manage stress, your immunity, your concentration, your energy, your cravings, your digestion, your mood, your sleep, your health, your weight, your productivity, performance in your life. So I would now question, I would end, and I would go back to the discovery. Did you discover? This is where we started. Did you discover 4 things you can change now with your eating to better cope, plus a little bonus? Did you get some of the primary links between stress and food? And did we answer your questions? And then I give them takeaways. So the takeaways are obviously the slide deck and a recreation book. I don't call it a workbook because I don't want it to seem hard. I want them to recreate their habits. So I call it a recreation book. And then you as a coach, you would always offer them a free discovery session with you, because you might want to get individual coachings out of this after this session, right? That's the ground for getting individual coaching. And you'd put your email address here. And then you would then thank them for coming. And I'll come back to this one afterward. And this is the recreation book. So this is the book that I send them all home with. It's just got a little note which says, welcome, this is your book to create your journey. And in the book, I've created, do you all know the Wheel of Life? Does everybody know the Wheel of Life? I think everybody does. Maybe Constanta does not, but I've adapted the Wheel of Life. And I've put the Wheel of Life with these 4 zones: nutrition, physical activity, sleep and recovery, and mindfulness. And they're going to do one of the quadrants this week. By the end of all sessions, they can do all quadrants. And then I've given them, for nutrition, they have fruit and vegetable tips, and then I have a fruit and vegetable Wheel of Life. So they can actually, as they move forward and progress with each tip, let's just take tip number 1, make fruit and vegetable half my life. Well, am I doing that today? Number 1, and they would place it on here so they can make a plan. And then I did the same with each one: water and drinks, carbohydrates, protein, mindful eating. How often do I pause to ask if I'm hungry before and after and during I'm eating? And I give some bonus mindfulness tips, which I give each week, actually. So that's what they walk away with. That's their workbook, their recreation book. What I've done for us, and I'll end here, we can just open up for questions. Love to have your feedback. This is my soft launch. So this is the way I will be running these 4 90-minute sessions. And you guys would be, you would own these slides. I am asking anybody that decides to join this, that they attend all 4 sessions, because one is not, I can't just give you these slides. They're not complete without the other 4. I would ask, this is a program that I am planning to market at about 4,000 with all of the 4 weeks. I'm giving it right now for 400 to coaches, my starter coaches, to you guys. If you will, written testimonials, video testimonial, share on social media when I launch in the fall. And all I'm asking of all of you is, if you choose to do this, that you sign this disclaimer, which I'm going to send to you, and every way you can all see that. It's just about giving credit where it's due. You would use your own logo. You can add your things, add your tips, adjust it as you wish. I ask you not to remove my copyright at the end, because it is my copyright, WhealthyU, if you call it WhealthyU, etc. I ask you not to change the data and statistics unless you sort of ask me. You update things, and I will be updating these annually. But this is just a disclaimer. There's no other big thing, but this is clearly my intellectual property that I'm super happy to share with you guys. So I am actually going to stop sharing now and just open up. And I'm super interested to know what you guys think. And can you imagine now how you could break it down into a little 30-minute session, or you could expand it into you could have a half day on this, couldn't you?
Yeah, and I also think it's really valuable not only for companies. Also, I mean, I could imagine really even bringing some friends together and going through this together, because in the end everyone is stressed. I mean, it doesn't
Totally.
matter if it's in the workplace, or everyone is stressing about something in life and making the wrong choices, food wise or sleeping wise, and